Right now, there is a billionaire or a multimillionaire sitting right next to you at your local coffee shop. They don't wear Gucci, they don't drive Lamborghinis, and they look completely ordinary. They belong to a hidden underground elite, the Wealth Champions League. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how they play the financial game in complete silence. You don't notice anything at first. The table next to you, a man in a plain navy pullover, laptop open, ceramic mug with a small chip on the handle. He arrived before you. He will leave after you. He hasn't looked up once. There is nothing about him that asks for your attention. Nothing about him that performs anything. You don't know it yet, but the man in the navy pullover has a net worth of $23 million. He does not have a publicist. He does not have a social media presence. When the barista asks his name for the cup, he says something short. He tips 18%. He goes back to his screen. Something about him is slightly, invisibly off. You cannot name it, but the feeling stays. You will understand it by the end of this. There are two financial worlds running simultaneously in every city on earth. In every office building. In every coffee shop. Most people spend their entire lives inside only one of them, and never know the other one exists. The world you can see is built on signals. The car in the driveway. The watch on the wrist. The neighborhood, the restaurant, the holiday photo posted on a Sunday evening with just enough light. These are not simply things. They are a broadcast. A carefully constructed transmission that says, I have arrived. I am doing well. I belong here. Look at where I am. You learned this language when you were young. Everyone did. You learned that success has a look. That money has a shape. That the right objects in the right places communicate something about who you are and where you are headed. This did not happen naturally. It was engineered. In the 1950s, a major American car manufacturer hired a sociologist. Not an engineer, not a designer, a sociologist, to study what people actually wanted when they purchased a car. What he uncovered permanently changed the architecture of consumer culture. People were not buying transportation. They were buying a moment. The moment the neighbor glanced over. The moment the colleague in the parking lot registered the upgrade. The moment a stranger on the street saw them getting out of it. The product was never the car. The product was the signal the car sent on your behalf. That single insight became the engine of a multi-trillion-dollar economy. And in the 70 years since, it has only become more precise, more personalized, more invisible. They are not selling products. They are selling signals. Every luxury brand understands that the majority of its customers are not wealthy. They are people who want to appear wealthy, or people who have recently acquired money and feel an urgent need to make it visible. The brand serves both groups perfectly. The bag does not increase your net worth. Purchasing it increases someone else's. Then social media arrived. And the signal economy found a delivery mechanism unlike anything that had existed before. You are now exposed to thousands of curated financial performances every single day. Someone's new car posted from a dealership. Someone's business class window seat at 30,000 feet. Someone's kitchen renovation. Someone's watch, photographed on a marble countertop in natural light. None of this is accidental. Every image is a broadcast. Every broadcast is optimized to make you feel something about your own position. And beneath every one of those broadcasts, a set of industry's profits from your reaction. Banks grow when you borrow. Car manufacturers and dealers grow when you finance. Fashion brands grow when you upgrade every season. And the platforms, the ones showing you all of it, grow when you feel the gap between your life and the life you are watching. The gap is not a side effect. The gap is the product. Your desire to close it is the revenue. Every time you open an app and feel just slightly that your current life is not quite enough, that feeling was manufactured. Deliberately. The scale. By people who built systems to manufacture it. The system was not designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to extract from you while you believed you were simply living your life. They were never trying to look like it. Now here is the part that almost nobody explains. Most people operate inside one financial structure for their entire lives. It works like this: you work, you earn, and then you spend what remains. The income is real. The lifestyle it funds feels earned. But at the end of 20 years, what you have accumulated is a collection of things that lose value over time, and a set of monthly obligations that can only be sustained as long as the salary continues. The moment the salary stops, everything stops with it. The people who belong to the Wealth Champions League, not the ones performing wealth, the ones actually holding it, operate inside a completely different structure. They do not earn first and spend what remains. They acquire assets first. Then they live from what those assets produce. This is not a subtle difference. It is a structural one. It changes everything about how money moves through a life. Here is the simplest version of that difference. When you buy a car on finance, money leaves your account every month and arrives at a lender. When someone owns that lending company, money arrives in their account every month, from 10,000 people who all bought cars on finance. Same transaction. Completely opposite position in the structure. One is paying. One is being paid. Every single month. Without doing anything new. Most people spend their lives selling labor. This is not a moral failing. But labor operates on a specific logic. You show up, you perform the work, you receive payment. You stop showing up, the payment stops. The ceiling is always the number of hours you have and the rate someone is willing to pay for each one. Ownership operates on completely different logic. You own a piece of something, a business, a property, a fund, a patent, a platform, and that thing generates returns whether you are present or not. Whether you are sleeping, whether you are sitting in a coffee shop in a plain navy pullover doing nothing visible. The man at that table is not richer than you because he works harder. He is richer because a larger portion of his wealth is working without him. This is the structure. Not the discipline, not the sacrifice, not the frugality, the structure. They were never trying to look like it. A woman named Angela understood this before most people around her had thought to ask the question. She was not exceptional by any visible measure. She worked in marketing. She earned a salary that was comfortable but not remarkable. What she grasped, quietly and early, was that every financial decision she made was either moving her toward ownership or away from it, toward a position where money would eventually work for her, or deeper into a position where she would always have to work for money. She bought pieces of things. An index fund position she added to each month without looking at the balance. A fractional stake in a rental property through a co-investment platform. A small equity position in a business run by someone she trusted. None of it felt like wealth. None of it was visible to anyone. None of it would have made a good post. By 41, those pieces were producing roughly $6,000 a month. Without her doing anything. Without her showing up anywhere. She had not saved her way into wealth. She had bought her way into the other structure. There is a darker layer beneath all of this. One that most people are never shown directly. Many of the wealthiest people in the world did not become wealthy because they worked harder than everyone else. They became wealthy because they owned things that worked on their behalf, things that extracted value from other people's labor, other people's spending, other people's time. A founder who builds a company and retains 40% ownership is not 40% richer than their employees because they are 40% more skilled. They are richer because they own the structure that employs those people. The labor of 50 employees and the spending of 1 million customers flows, in part, back to the person who holds the ownership stake. This is not a moral argument. It is a structural one. Ownership captures value at scale. Labor captures value 1 hour at a time. The question is not which is right. The question is which one you are doing, and whether you chose it or whether it was simply the only option made visible to you. Here is the crucible. It does not arrive as a dramatic moment. It arrives as a Tuesday. You are 38 years old. A colleague quietly hands in her notice. No announcement. No farewell party planned in advance. She thanks everyone, finishes her projects, and leaves. You find out through a mutual contact that she had spent 15 years steadily acquiring ownership, index funds, a rental unit, equity in a small business she backed early. Not because she earned dramatically more than you. She didn't. Because every time she had surplus capital, she asked a different question than the one you had been asking. You sit in your car in the parking garage afterward. The engine is off. Your hands are on the wheel, but you are not going anywhere. You are not thinking about her specifically. You are thinking about the structure. The one she had been building inside while you had been building something visible on the outside. She had been accumulating ownership. You had been accumulating signals. Both of you had been working the same hours, earning comparable money, living in the same city. Only one of you had been building something that could eventually run without you. You sit there for a while. Then you start the engine. You don't do anything with this for several weeks. Most people don't. Here is what the incentive architecture of modern life is specifically designed to do. It is designed to keep you consuming. Every platform, every advertisement, every algorithmically curated feed is optimized by teams of engineers whose entire job is this optimization, to make you feel that your current position is slightly insufficient, that the next purchase will close a gap, that you have earned something you do not yet have. This feeling is not an accident or a side effect. This feeling is the product being manufactured. Your spending in response to it is the revenue being harvested. There is currently $1.7 trillion in outstanding auto loan debt in the United States alone. Not because Americans cannot function without financed vehicles. Because a lending product was designed, priced, and delivered at precisely the moment a person stood in a dealership feeling slightly behind the version of themselves they were trying to become. The distance between who you are and who you want to appear to be is not a personal weakness. It is a business model. A very large, very profitable, very deliberately maintained business model. They were never trying to look like it. The man in the navy pullover did not accumulate $23 million by denying himself things. He accumulated $23 million because for 2 decades, every time he had capital available, he asked one question before doing anything with it. Does this move money toward me or away from me? Does this produce or does this consume? Not, can I afford this? Not, do I deserve this? Not, does this reflect where I am headed? Does this produce or does this consume? The entire visible economy is organized to make the wrong question feel like the natural one. Every storefront, every advertisement, every influencer post, every financing offer is built on the assumption that you are asking, can I afford this and how will I look with it? The people who design those stores, those platforms, those financial products, they have always been asking the other question. About every dollar they touch. About every system they build. Maybe you have already seen this pattern somewhere in your own life. Maybe you are in the middle of something that feels a little like this right now. Maybe this is the first time you have sat with the question at all. The friend who earns well and cannot explain where the money goes, not because they are reckless, but because everything they acquired was consumption with no return. The colleague building a visible life on borrowed capital, performing a financial position they have not yet reached. Running a race whose finish line keeps moving because the rules of the race were designed that way. The parent who worked 40 years, followed every visible rule, did everything the world showed them was correct, and arrived at the end of it without ownership of anything that could work without them. The man in the navy pullover closes his laptop, folds it under his arm, puts on a jacket that was bought a long time ago and still fits, tips 18%, walks out. They were never trying to look like it. This was never a story about saving money. It was a story about 2 structures, 2 parallel games running simultaneously in every city, every office, every coffee shop on earth. One organized around consumption, around signals, appearances, the performance of a financial position. One organized around ownership, around assets, returns, structures that generate without requiring your presence. The rules of the first game are everywhere. On every screen, every billboard, every checkout page with one more item suggested at the last moment. You were handed those rules before you were old enough to question them. The rules of the second game are almost nowhere. They are not in school. They are not in the content designed for the mass market. They move between people who already know them, in conversations that happen in rooms you were not invited into. The question that remains when the screen goes dark: was that an accident?